I bet almost all of us have secrets. In most cases, they're probably small, unspectacular ones. A particular phobia, a secret desire, perhaps a curious hobby or interest. But a few of us will have secrets on a different scale. Secrets that would make everyone say, "I never would have thought that of you." The woman we're talking about today also had such a secret. We don't know for sure if that's the reason for her disappearance. But we do know for sure that there has been no trace of her for 3 years now, and that she disappeared in the middle of Germany, in a quiet little town, in broad daylight, and that every bit of help is needed to find her. Samira Semic grows up with her sister Jenny, who is 4 years older. Shortly after turning 18, both sisters move out of their parents' house. While Jenny settles in Hamburg, Samira lives in Lübeck for a while. There she works in a call center and as a temporary employee in a retirement home. The young woman has no real plans for the future, at least not any concrete ones. In 2009, everything is turned upside down. Samira finds out she is pregnant. She's very excited about her baby. Unfortunately, however, the 21-year-old's partner is not enthusiastic about parenthood. Contact with the child's father breaks off. Samira raises her son, who was born in the spring of 2010, alone. Even though the situation is challenging, she loves her child with all her heart and cares for him lovingly. In 2011, a new man comes into Samira's life. The two had been together some time ago, and now they want to give it another try. Unfortunately, the young woman is not lucky in this partnership either. The relationship lasts a long time, but it is by no means a positive one. It ends when Samira has to seek refuge in a women's shelter in 2021. She reports physical violence by her partner and, in order to protect herself and her son, she simply had to get out. Previously, her relationship with her sister Jenny had also suffered as a result of the relationship. In December 2020, the two had an argument because Jenny confronted Samira about the relationship. But at that time, Samira was apparently not yet able or willing to take the step of separating. After the argument, the sisters had no contact for almost a year at Samira's request. This was despite the fact that the two had previously written or spoken on the phone every day. Samira and her son were transferred from northern Germany to a women's shelter in Marburg, central Germany. In 2021, Samira decided to settle permanently in the region. She and her son moved to a small town called Kirchhain. Hundreds of kilometers away from their traumatic experiences, Samira and her 12-year-old son are able to make a clean break. Nevertheless, the two still return to their home in northern Germany from time to time. After her time in the women's shelter, Samira has resumed contact with her sister. Samira's sister Jenny still lives with her family in Hamburg. Jenny is extremely proud and relieved that her little sister has managed to break out of the relationship, and now that the two are back in touch, everything is almost as it was before. Samira and Jenny are in contact every day. In May 2022, Samira and her son visit Jenny in Hamburg and spend a wonderful day together. The two plan a return visit for the summer holidays. Jenny wants to take her child to Kirchhain to see her sister's new home. But this visit will never happen. Samira and her son don't have much contact with their neighbors in Kirchhain. And even otherwise, Samira doesn't seem to have a large circle of friends there a year after the move. But anyone who has ever moved as an adult knows how it is. It's not that easy to make new friends. And perhaps after such a difficult time as Samira has had, it's not necessarily high on her list of priorities, but Samira must have formed a close bond with someone. Because in June 2022, she tells her sister some surprising news. Samira is expecting another baby. She doesn't know who the father is. That would mean it's quite possible that Samira will be alone with this child too. Her sister is worried and urges her to think carefully about whether she can handle this challenge. But Jenny also knows that she will be there for Samira and support her no matter what. Samira knows that too. She tells Jenny that she will contact the potential fathers and explain the situation to them. When the men respond via WhatsApp, Samira sends her sister screenshots. None of the potential fathers seem particularly enthusiastic to Jenny. Nevertheless, Samira decides to have the baby. She also tells her son that he is going to be a big brother. And actually, everything seems okay so far. Sure, the pregnancy and the unresolved paternity are a huge deal. But Samira seems to be coping and is primarily looking forward to becoming a mother again. Until July 28, 2022, when everything changes. During the course of the day, Samira is still in contact with her sister Jenny via WhatsApp. Jenny doesn't notice anything unusual. Everything is completely normal. The sisters update each other on how they are doing. Samira sends Jenny a photo of her baby bump. She's 4 months pregnant and the pregnancy is slowly becoming visible. There is no indication that these will be the last words she exchanges with her sister. Nothing indicates that Samira will disappear without a trace in the next few hours. And nothing indicates that Samira has been leading a double life. Samira's son is at home on July 28th. The summer holidays have just begun. Mother and son spend the morning together. At around 11 a.m., Samira gets ready to leave the house. She tells her son that she won't be gone long. From midday onwards, Samira stops responding to her sister's messages. The 12-year-old boy waits in vain for his mother that day, first in the afternoon, then in the evening, and even late at night. Eventually, he falls asleep. When he wakes up the next morning, July 29th, his mother is still not home. He tries to reach Samira on her cell phone. Even when she is not at home, she is always available to her son by phone and attaches great importance to this. But that morning, her son cannot get her on the phone. Desperate, the child calls his Aunt Jenny. She tries to calm the 12-year-old down as best she can over the phone, and she asks him if he would feel confident calling the police. Because, as mentioned, Jenny has also been unable to reach Samira since the day before Samira was still online until shortly before 12 noon. From 2:30 p.m. onwards, messages to her were no longer getting through. The 12-year-old plucks up the courage and dials the police number. Jenny knows that this must be terrible for her nephew. But she has never been to Kirchhain or to Samira's new apartment. She's not even sure which floor her sister lives on, and she hopes that the police will take the matter more seriously when a child calls and can describe the situation directly. It works. The police respond immediately and send a patrol car. In the mother and son's apartment, it is discovered that Samira has left behind important personal items. Her credit cards and the charging cable for her cell phone are in the apartment. If she had planned to spend the night away from home, she would have told her son and would probably have taken these items with her. So, an investigation is launched immediately. The investigators quickly discover something that no one in Samira's circle knew about. Neither her son, nor her sister, nor any of her other acquaintances. As a single mother, Samira had to provide for herself and her son on her own. That is a huge challenge. Single parents in Germany are the family type most at risk of and affected by poverty. 41% of single parents are considered at risk of poverty. And single mothers have even less disposable income on average than single fathers. I think if you've never been in this situation yourself, it's hard to imagine the pressure it can cause. Especially if you've become a young mother and have no vocational training. Like Samira Semic, she still wants to provide for her son. She wants a nice home for him. She wants to eat ice cream with him or go to the fair. Because it may seem like an easy solution to Samira, she has a secret. The 34-year-old sells her body for money. No one in her circle knows about it. As the police report, Samira was often out in the evenings. She's said to have gone out specifically to look for clients in bars in Marburg and Kirchhain. She also had profiles on various adult websites under the alias Sunshine. Samira also visited some clients at home from time to time. She had a friendly relationship with some of them on a business level. Some clients were unable or unwilling to hide the boundaries between professional and private life. Samira is even said to have received marriage proposals from some of them. However, she clearly rejected these. In any case, this secret also explains why she does not know who the father of her unborn child is. And it provides an important clue to her disappearance. The police assume that Samira got into a customer's car in front of her house at noon on July 28th. According to reports, the 34-year-old often had clients pick her up directly from her home. And when search dogs pick up Samira's trail, it breaks off at the road. This is precisely where she could have gotten into a car. Witness statements suggest that she may have gotten into a black car. Unfortunately, there is no more detailed information about the vehicle type or brand. The police can access Samira's chats with her clients through digital forensic experts. These chats repeatedly mention that Samira was picked up either at home or at the end of the street. She then drove with them to a bridge over a nearby river, for example, in a somewhat remote location. This area is being searched particularly thoroughly, both on land and in the water. Unfortunately, no trace is found there. It is unclear whether she even went there with a client on July 28th. Like many other factors, unfortunately. Perhaps the most effective approach would be to revisit the places that were important to Samira. Samira lived in Lübeck with her son for a long time. However, after the difficult breakup with her ex-boyfriend, she probably wasn't keen to return there. Samira also has her sister Jenny in Hamburg, but Jenny herself had no contact with Samira from the afternoon of her disappearance. A visit was not planned, and certainly not without her son. It is fairly certain that Samira would never have left him behind. She often had clients pick her up by car from her apartment in Kirchhain or at the end of the street. She often drove with her clients to this remote spot by the river. This place is located near a sewage treatment plant and a hiking trail that is popular with walkers. According to information received, Samira also had connections to other places in the region, specifically to Fulda and Bad Hersfeld. Unfortunately, however, these places are nothing more than points of reference. It is not publicly known that anyone saw Samira at any of these places after July 28th. Therefore, it is unfortunately obvious that the 34-year-old was the victim of a violent crime. The ex-boyfriend from whom Samira fled to the women's shelter in 2021 was questioned by the police. No concrete suspicion of a crime has been confirmed against him in this context. The police also questioned several of Samira's clients. This made it possible to reconstruct Samira's work a little better. The police were also able to identify the possible fathers of Samira's unborn baby. However, this did not provide any clues as to Samira's whereabouts. In a television report on the case, it is portrayed as if Samira had pressured at least one man, saying that she would claim child support from him if he was the father. That would be her right. In the film, however, the portrayal seems very demanding and almost a little blackmailing. Unfortunately, this part is not contextualized by any of the detectives in charge of the case. And as good as the program is, sometimes film segments blur with reality a bit due to artistic license. Just to put it into perspective. But it is, of course, possible that possible threats or insinuations by Samira against a potential father of her baby could have been a motive for murder, or that perhaps an argument about paternity and possible responsibility could have escalated. But even without such factors, violence against women is a major problem in this industry. This group is particularly vulnerable in any case. Statistics on the subject are difficult to obtain because the number of unreported cases is naturally high. The job is really not without danger. You can protect yourself to a certain extent, but even then there is still a risk. And in Samira's case, as far as we know, she didn't tell anyone when she was meeting with whom the police have analyzed her data with digital forensic experts. But if there is no incriminating evidence against a client or another person in her chats and messages, then the investigators can't do anything. That's why it's important to report to the police if you think you may have seen something. If anyone saw Samira on July 28, 2022, or even in the period after that, it could be a very important piece of the puzzle. When she disappeared, Samira was probably wearing a dress, a black jacket, and white shoes with striking orange laces. As mentioned, her last known location was on the street in front of her apartment, where she lived with her son. Samira is 1.58 meters tall, has a nose and lip piercing, and a large tattoo on her right leg. The police and her family are still wondering what happened to her. Samira's son is now staying with family members. I sincerely hope that he, Samira's sister, and the rest of her family will get an answer to the question of what happened to Samira. As I said, any information or sightings could help. Please share the video with friends who might know something. And if not, I would appreciate a like or a comment that always stimulates the algorithm a little and ensures that the video is recommended to new people. And especially with current missing persons cases, I would be happy if as many people as possible saw the video. Thank you in advance for your support. Other than that, there's not much else to say. I wish you a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're watching the video, and hope to see you again in the next video. Until then, bye everyone.